It is April 5th, 2017. This is the Watchman News, and I'm Mike Callahan. Last night, I had told of news live on the show that had to do with Syria and chemical weapons. And I unsuccessfully tried cutting out a report. Today, there is more information coming in on that. However, I'm going to start with what I had covered yesterday and last night, and then I will finish with the new information, which goes along with what I've been saying the entire time. And this is once again proving the theory of the Hegelian dialect and problem, reaction, solution. So anyway, start out with this. Russia and Iran bear moral responsibility for Syria chemical attack, says the U.S. State Department. Okay. Reads as this: condemning the chemical weapons attack in Idlib province, U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson accused the Syrian government of barbarism and said Russia and Iran also bear moral responsibility for the deaths. In a statement of Tuesday afternoon, Tillerson pointed the finger at Damascus, saying it is clear that this is how Bashar Assad operates, with brutal, unabashed barbarism. Anyone who uses chemical weapons to attack his own people shows a fundamental disregard for human decency and must be held accountable, Tillerson said. Now, if you notice, this is just an all-out, just direct attack without any of the facts presented. And they've done this time and time and time again. He called on Russia and Iran to exercise their influence over Damascus to guarantee that this sort of horrific attack never happens again, and said that they also bear great moral responsibility for the deaths as self-proclaimed guarantors of the Syrian ceasefire. Okay, and I'll put the links to all these articles in the description, as usual, but there was an interesting thing said by the military that I think it really covers it. Now, we've gone over on the show, there's been multiple times instances like this has happened. And we've even played on air video clips of back, I want to say in the 90s, where CNN fabricated a missile attack. You'll probably remember it. My favorite part of that video is there's two reporters on camera. The sirens start going off. One reporter puts on a gas mask, and the other reporter puts on a helmet. And when they should have both been wearing gas masks and helmets, it made no sense. It made absolutely no sense. But that went out on the airwaves, and it has been since debunked. There's been video that's come out of them joking around and laughing. They even made a mock little missile and was joking around with it, and so, this stuff is going on all the time, this propaganda, this false news. It doesn't make any sense. And the military even said that they would not, absolutely would not do anything like that. So anyway, let me go ahead and move on. Now this, I don't know if there's been any updates to this story or not. I can refresh it. But it says, rebel warehouse with chemical weapons hit by Syrian airstrike in Idlib, Russian Ministry of Defense. And it reads, the Syrian Air Force has destroyed a warehouse in Idlib province where ammunition dump containing chemical weapons was being produced by militants before being delivered to Iraq, the Russian Defense Ministry spokesman has said. I'll real quick try and do a refresh and see if they added quite a bit to that. Let me go ahead and read this. Okay, it says, the strike, which was launched midday Tuesday, targeted a major rebel ammunition depot east of the town Khan Shaykhun, Russian Defense Ministry spokesman Major General Igor Konishnikov said in a statement. The warehouse was used to both produce and store shells containing toxic gas, Konishnikov said. The shells were delivered to Iraq and repeatedly used there. He added, pointing out that both Iraq and the international organizations have confirmed the use of such weapons by militants. The same chemical munitions were used by militants in Aleppo, where Russian military experts took samples in the late 2016, Konishnikov said. The Defense Ministry has confirmed this information as fully objective and verified, Konishnikov added. According to that statement, Khan Shaykhun civilians who recently suffered a chemical attack displayed identical symptoms to those of the Aleppo chemical attack victims. Hassan Haj Ali, commander of the Free Idlib Army rebel group, rejected Russia's version of the incident, saying the rebels had no military positions in the area. Everyone saw the plane while it was bombing with gas, he told Reuters. Likewise, all the civilians in the area that there are no military positions there or places for the manufacture of weapons. The various factions of the opposition are not capable of producing these substances, he added. At least 58 people, including 11 children, reportedly died and scores were injured after a hospital in Khan Shaykhun was targeted in a suspected gas attack on Tuesday morning, Reuters reported, citing medics and rebel activists. Soon after the missile allegedly hit the facility, people started showing symptoms of chemical poisoning, such as choking and fainting. The victims were reportedly also seen with foam coming out of their mouths. While the major Syrian opposition group, the Syrian National Coalition, and other pro-rebel groups put the blame on the attack on the President Bashar Assad government, the Syrian military dismissed all allegations as propaganda by the rebels. We deny completely the use of any chemical or toxic material in Khan Shaykhun town today, and the Army has not used nor will use in any place or time, neither in past or in future, the Syrian Army said in a statement. The Russian military stated it did not carry out any airstrike in the area either. However, EU Foreign Affairs Chief Federica Mogherini commented on the incident, was quick to point out to the Syrian government as a culprit, saying that it bears responsible for the awful attack. U.S. Secretary of State Tillerson echoed Mogherini, accusing the Syrian government of perpetrating the attack, calling it brutal, unabashed barbarism. He argued that besides the Syrian authorities, Iran and Russia should also bear moral responsibility for it. And there's apparently a video here of Syria handing over evidence of mustard gas attack by rebels on the civilians. So before we go to that, though, I'm going to come here. Now RT is reporting this statement was said, "We are compelled to take own action if United Nations fails in Syria." This was said by a U.S. envoy. The UN Security Council convened on Wednesday to discuss a draft resolution proposed by the U.S., the U.K., and France, which would condemn Damascus for the reported use of chemical weapons in the town of Khan Shaykhun in Idlib province on Tuesday. Russia criticized the draft resolution for being unbalanced and jumping to conclusions. It said the document would have to include several amendments, such as calling on the rebels controlling the area to provide full access to UN investigators and setting an unbiased and comprehensive probe into the incident as the primary goal of the resolution. This draft was penned in haste, and adopting it would have been irresponsible, the Russian deputy acting envoy to the UN, Vladimir Safrankov, said. He also blamed Western members of the UNSC for unwillingness to investigate previous cases of alleged use of chemical weapons in Syria, where rebel groups were accused of using toxin agents. Nikki Haley, the U.S. ambassador to the UN, delivered an emotional speech that included images of children to argue in favor of swift action. The pictures were used in reporting of the alleged chemical weapons attack. Now, they do the same thing here with for gun control. Right? There's a shooting or an alleged or a false flag shooting, and that's all you see is them, putting the pictures of the children everywhere. It's propaganda. It's a way to emotionally control people and get the proper response that they want. Okay, she claimed the incident carried all hallmarks of an attack by Damascus, adding that the toxin used in the alleged assault was more deadly than in previous cases attributed to the Syrian military by Washington. U.S. envoy to UN also accused Russia of failing to ensure that there were no chemical weapons in the possession of the Syrian government. The truth is that Russia, Iran, and Assad have no interest in peace, Haley claimed. The U.S. has hinted at taking its own action in Syria unless the United Nations Security Council moves to prevent the use of chemical weapons in the war-torn country. When the United Nations consistently fails in its duty to act collectively, there are times in the life of states that we are compelled to take our own action, the U.S. ambassador to the UN said. So we have to be very careful because that's pretty much stating that, you know, we're going to do what we're going to do. I don't feel any better about the UN being involved in the situation, but, you know. Okay, so during that, I noticed this link here, and apparently there is a video. Here is the headline: Syria hands over evidence of mustard gas attack by rebels on civilians to OPCW.
Because the Organisation for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons has received official evidence that militants in Syria used mustard gas on civilian areas in Aleppo province. The weapon is internationally banned. Well, the documents handed to the OPCW refer to a chemical attack in September. 40 people suffered from exposure to a poisonous substance. Samples from the site collected by Russian specialists will now be delivered to The Hague within a month. The watchdog is now set to analyse the documented findings. Well, we can talk with Roman Kostorev now, who joins us in the studio to get more details on this. So, Roman, tell us about the findings then.
Well, we're talking about mustard gas. It is a weapon of mass destruction, just like you said. It was widely used back in World War II. The weapon has killed scores of people, and that's just an understanding for you what it is and why they banned it back in 1923. Mustard gas itself, when it's used against civilians, it leaves body burns, it induces vomiting, and obviously people die. Like I said, it was banned just for that reason, banned in use against civilians or in use against military completely. Now, this is obviously not the first time that the use of chemical weapons by terrorists has been uncovered by Syrians and the Russians, and there were quite a few instances of that before. Let's just take a look at that.
Even in our intro video, our current intro video, there's images and there are images and video clips of a chemical gas attack. Anyway, this video is about 11 minutes, I believe, or it might be just 9, one of the two. I will put the link to all of these websites, these web pages, in the description of the video. Sorry, I'm working on my second cup of coffee, so I'm still not totally here. Anyway, that is the latest. I'm going to keep a very, very close eye on this throughout the day. I suggest you do as well. And I will update if there's anything more breaking from it. Thanks, guys. You have a good day.